What drew you to working in television?
What drew me to working in television? The paycheck, obviously. Mostly. No, you know what's funny is it really is sort of the golden age of TV right now, and I had been, especially in cable, and for me it was like one of those things where I wasn't actively looking to do something, but this incredible Swedish show got sent to me called The Comedians, about these two Swedish comedians who get paired together, and it shows like the generational disconnect between the older comic and the younger comic. And I heard that Billy Crystal was involved and Larry Charles.
He's producing it, right? Or
Billy is producing
he got the material.
it.
And then
Yeah. He's producing it, and along with Larry. And so they sent this to me, and I was, within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And the idea of doing this meta show where I got to play myself was really interesting to me.
Super funny.
So I was like,
also that docu-style, where you get a heightened version of yourself. I started liking when they started doing it in smaller chunks, when it was like manageable stuff, like 10 episodes or 8 episodes or 12. So I also like obviously the restraints of not having to have, I think a lot of times when you read like television scripts that are for network, in each scene you can kind of feel things sort of coming to a close for this artificial break that you have to have happening. And the thing I love about cable is that you really have this kind of long form story. It's kind of like making a 10-hour movie, as opposed to, you're not sort of trying to get the audience back at the end of every episode and you're trying to land a hook in their throat. So I liked that it was just, you sort of have a larger chunk of time than a movie to sort of really explore a character.
What I love about your show so much, and your character in particular, is your character has this 3-year arc in the first season. And that's got to be interesting to play. But
it depends how you. I don't know. You had all your scripts in advance, right?
We sort of did.
And were you pretty faithful to them, or you kind of did the pilot?
Yeah, we sort of had an idea, and the scripts were pretty much presented to us early on. But you're doing this thing where you start off in a very distinct place, then the character sort of has evolved into something else 3 years later, and then you guys go back to that pivotal beginning point.
But we didn't even know, when we were making it, we didn't know that we were going, that was the direction we were heading. Or Damon Lindelof had kind of said, like, do you want to know what's kind of the trajectory of the guy and the show and the whatever? And I thought it was valuable. I was like, I'd love to kind of get the scripts as they come down the pike, like as late as possible. Early enough to prep them, but sort of so that I didn't have to, so that I could sort of be the viewer in a sense and like watch the show as my character was evolving. Because I feel like when you sometimes know the destination of where your guy's going,
you play that.
You're playing to that.
Right, absolutely.
You're trying to lay stuff in. Maybe a smarter actor would do that.
No, I find the same thing.
Yeah, it's more kind of fun to sort of experience it as this, because then you're getting scripts and you're going, oh my God, that's happening. Ugh, or in our show, that's happening. I like that. Let's talk about The Comedians. So in the adaptation of that, were there any limiting factors, or sort of translating that? It's a show from the Netherlands, right?
Well, the beauty is that most Americans don't get Swedish television, so we didn't have to live up to any sort of expectation. The challenge for me was, how do you play a heightened version of yourself that oftentimes does not really resemble the reality of...
Was there any ego in that? And kind of going like, you know what, I kind of don't want to shy away from a joke.
There's
You're
ego,
like,
there's insecurity, there's all of it.
Yeah.
And early on, Billy Crystal and I sat down and we said, if we're going to do this, we need to be fearless. We need to put it all out there. And there are times on the show where it gets deeply uncomfortable. What was it about?
It's a story that my dad died when I was 15.
There was an episode in particular that I had to pull him aside and go, I'm going to say some really shitty things to you right now. And I want you to know that...
He's also like a hero as well.
It's a hero! Totally!
Exactly,
And I'm like, I want you to know, I don't really feel this way about you, even though I'm saying it to your character also named Billy Crystal. And that's like...
I'm going to be awful to you. I'm going to take you down like I'm a barroom
I'm going to say horrible things about you, but they're not really about you, but they're about you. And I hope you're okay with that. And we sort of had this like, brothers, we've got each other's backs mentality. And you need to in doing something this meta and something this specific, with regard to the fact that, again, you don't have the protection, the safety net of playing a character with a different name, of playing a character with a different attitude. It's us, but it's very straight. I joke around that I only share maybe 6% of the traits of fake Josh Gad.
Yeah.
But the audience who doesn't know me,
of course,
is going to see that version.
Yeah.
And you're sort of like, is that really him? So that's the tricky part. What about for you with Leftovers?
For Leftovers, I think the hardest part of doing that show, I mean, it's definitely got a tone, and I've never considered myself one of those people who's like, I take it home, I can't help it. I've always been very good at, like, I'm at work and I do my work, and then at the end of the day I go home and I'm back to myself.
I became Josh Gad for my show.
You became Josh Gad.
I never left it.
I became a small town cop. But the obstacle, the thing that, and I only learned this in the doing, but it was that playing that sort of sustained kind of operatic, tragic tone for that long a period of time, even though it was only 5 months or so, did start to wear on you.
But he stands alone, and who can oppose him? He does whatever he pleases.
Like, did start to wear on me.
I can imagine.
Because it's not, as you know, when you're doing a comedy, you can't wait to get to work every day because you're really just going to work to try and make people laugh and trying to better it. And there's a certain kind of comfort in that, and that you're doing something good for your body every day just by cracking up and having fun. And at The Leftovers, it was a lot of that kind of like, okay, still rolling, just quiet on set, keep it moving, and that sustaining that level of kind of intensity does get tiring.
So you got your start in theater too, right?
Theater, yeah.
You worked with
and you too, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Did you go to conservatory?
I did 4 years of drama school, and then went to New York, and I came out to LA to see if I wanted to come out here, and was terrified by it. And then someone here actually gave me some sage advice and said, never come to LA unless someone's paying for your plane ticket to come to LA.
That's actually,
And
I wish I had known that.
Kept that advice. And
I
was
went
like,
bankrupt
that's a really
paying.
Well, so did I, because no one flies you out for years.
No.
You're just waiting. So yeah, I did a bunch of plays in New York, and then
worked with my idol.
Who?
God bless his soul, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Worked with Phil. That was one of my earlier plays with Phil. He's such a beautiful, wonderful actor. We did a play called Shopping and Effing off Broadway. He was so wonderful in that play. And then started gradually getting more work out here and coming out here.
There really is no greater experience than 8 shows a week to prepare you.
I agree.
For the rigors of whatever you have
agree.
to face in this industry.
Yeah, I agree. It's the most exhausting, and people would think that it would not be exhausting because you're thinking, oh, you're working 2 hours a day.
Hardest work, least amount of money.
Least amount of money, and you end up leading some sort of a nocturnal life. I don't know about you. When I would do plays, I would always be up till like 2 in the morning.
Yes.
The rush of doing the play, and then you just can't go to bed. And then
when I did Mormon, my daughter was 2 months old. 3 months old by the time they came to New York.
How long did you do that for? You did that for...
I did it for about a year and a half. Man. A year and a half.
And that's a crushing play.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. But the joy was the audience was so into it.
It's so much fun when you have a massive, just enormous hit Broadway show, because your audiences are young and vital and amazing, and there's nothing more depressing when the New York Times gives you Justin Theroux fares well, and the play is clunky, but you're like, ugh, and you just watch your houses die the next day.
And then you got to keep going back.
And you have to go back for like another 4 months, and you're just thinking, oh my God. We used to laugh. I did a play, I wanted to play a small part in Three Sisters on Broadway. It was an all-star cast. But we kind of got reviews, and we used to just hear the seats. They were sprung seats, so all throughout the play, you'd hear like, chunk, chunk, chunk. There's this red velvet. So then by the third act, because there was like 3 intermissions or whatever, you'd look out and you'd just see like a wall of red velvet. There was no bodies in the seats.
We actually seldomly had people walk out of the theater in Book of Mormon, surprisingly. Because when we first hit it, we're like, oh, there's going to be some like pickets and people are going to storm out. And the only one that I can vividly remember is this older couple stayed for the first 2 acts, and then with 5 minutes left in the show, they decided that they had had enough. I love that they were like 2
like,
hours and
"That's it.
15 minutes
I'm
in.
voting with
like,
my
you know
ass."
what? That's the end of the line for me. Now that I've heard the message, I'm out of
Exactly.
here. Stand up, and they take their programs and they make a big show of it, walk down the aisle, and they throw it into the garbage.
While you're bowing,
except,
practically.
except the funniest part was it bounced out of the garbage. So I literally started laughing on stage. I was like, this is the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. It just was so funny to me that it just backfired.
If I'm doing something funny and I find it funny, it takes me a good 10 takes to get the laughing out.
Yeah, when I start getting into laughing mode,
Yeah.
you'll lose 2 hours.
Yeah.
You'll lose easily 2 hours.
It's so much fun
of day
when you're
of
laughing,
daylight.
it cracks you up.
It's
And you
the
can,
best.
and it makes it funnier when the director gets more and more like, okay, guys, all right, we got it out of our system. But we really gotta, and that just almost makes it worse because then everyone's trying to kind of really be like, oh, this is super serious. Gotta get this done. You know, ugh.